Noah Reed woke up to the smell of lavender and expensive air conditioning. It wasn't the smell of mildew that usually permeated his basement apartment in Queens, nor was it the smell of stale fryer grease that clung to his skin after a double shift. He opened his eyes, squinting against the sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. His head throbbed, not from a hangover, but from the bone-deep exhaustion of a man who hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night in 5 years. He sat up, the silk sheets slipping off his chest. He was wearing his undershirt and boxers. His waiter's uniform was folded neatly on a velvet armchair. "You're awake." The voice was cool, crisp, and commanded attention. Noah turned. Sitting at a glass desk across the expansive suite was a woman. She was typing on a laptop, her posture ramrod straight. She wore a sharp white blouse and tailored trousers. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun, highlighting cheekbones that could cut glass. Noah recognized her immediately. Not from a bar, but from the newsstand he walked past every morning. Isabella Sterling, CEO of Sterling Dynamics, one of the richest women in New York City. The tabloids called her the Ice Queen of Manhattan. "Miss Sterling." Noah's voice was raspy. Panic seized his chest. "I did, I?" "You passed out," Isabella said, not looking up from her screen. "You stumbled into the executive lounge last night. Security was about to throw you out into the rain. You looked like you were dying. I had them bring you here instead." Noah rubbed his temples, memories fragmenting back together. Yesterday had been the worst day of his life. He had been fired from the diner for stopping a customer from harassing a waitress. He had walked home in the rain to find an eviction notice taped to his door. He had gone to a dive bar, spent his last $10 on a single whiskey he didn't even finish because the exhaustion hit him like a freight train. He must have wandered into the hotel lobby looking for a place to sit, confused by the lights. "I'm so sorry." Noah scrambled out of bed, grabbing his uniform. "I'll leave. I didn't mean to intrude. I was tired." "Sit down, Mr. Reed." The command froze him. She spun her chair around. Her eyes were a piercing shade of gray, unreadable and intense. "You know my name?" Noah asked. "I know everything about you," Isabella said, picking up a dossier from her desk. "Noah Reed, age 32, widower, father to a 7-year-old daughter, Lily, currently unemployed as of..." She checked her watch, 14 hours ago. 3 months behind on rent. "Lily needs dental work you can't afford. You have $42 in your bank account." Noah's face burned with shame. "Is this a joke? Are you mocking me?" "I don't joke." Isabella stood up. She was tall, intimidating. She walked over to him and held out a document. "I have a proposition." Noah looked at the paper. At the top, in bold letters, it read, "Marriage Settlement Agreement." "Excuse me, I need a husband," Isabella stated matter-of-factly. "My board of directors is old-fashioned. They believe a single woman cannot run a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate without being emotional or unstable. They are threatening to oust me next week if I don't present a stable home life. My CFO, Julian Vance, is leading the charge. He wants my job. So, you want to hire me? I want to marry you." On paper, Isabella corrected. 1 year. We live together. You attend galas with me. You play the role of the devoted, supportive husband. In exchange, I pay off your debts. I cover Lily's medical and dental bills. I pay for her education. And at the end of the year, we divorce, and you walk away with $1 million. Noah laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "You're out of your mind." "I am desperate," she said, her voice dropping just an octave, revealing a hairline fracture in her armor. "And so are you. You're a good father, Noah. I saw the police report from the diner. You lost your job defending a woman. You have integrity. That's rare. And right now, integrity doesn't pay the rent." Noah looked at the contract, then at the window. He thought of Lily. Lily with her hole-filled sneakers. Lily who pretended she wasn't hungry, so he would eat more. Lily who deserved the world but got a father who couldn't even keep a roof over her head. He looked back at Isabella. "I have conditions." Isabella raised an eyebrow. "You're negotiating. My daughter comes first. She doesn't get hurt. She doesn't get used as a prop. And we don't lie to her, not really. We tell her we're trying to see if this works. Agreed, Isabella said. And I'm not your servant, Noah added, his jaw set. I'm your husband. If we do this, you treat me with respect. For the first time, a flicker of surprise crossed Isabella's face. She extended a hand. Deal. Noah took her hand. It was cold, but her grip was strong. The move was disorienting. 1 minute, Noah and Lily were packing their meager belongings into trash bags. The next, a black SUV was whisking them toward the Sterling Tower in Midtown. Lily was wide-eyed, clutching her worn-out stuffed bear, Mr. Puddles. Daddy, is the Queen living here? Noah squeezed her hand. Something like that, Ladybug. Remember, Miss Isabella is a friend. We're going to stay with her for a while. When they entered the penthouse, Lily gasped. The living room was larger than their entire apartment building. It was beautiful, but sterile. Everything was white, chrome, or glass. There were no pictures on the walls, no clutter, no signs of life. Isabella was waiting for them. She looked awkward, standing in the middle of her own living room as if she were a guest. Hello, Isabella said stiffly. Lily hid behind Noah's leg. Lily, this is Isabella, Noah said gently. Isabella knelt down, maintaining a respectful distance. I had a room prepared for you, Lily. I hope it is satisfactory. She led them down a hallway. When she opened the door, Noah's breath hitched. It wasn't just a room. It was a wonderland. The walls were painted a soft pastel yellow, Lily's favorite color. There were bookshelves filled with stories, a desk with art supplies, and a bed that looked like a cloud. And on the bed sat a brand-new, high-quality art set. How did you know she likes to draw? Noah asked, looking at Isabella. Isabella looked away, almost shyly. The dossier mentioned she won an art contest at school last year. I thought our practical gifts are best. Lily didn't care about practicality. She squealed and ran to the desk. Daddy, look, real watercolors. Noah looked at Isabella. The Ice Queen was fidgeting with her cufflink. Thank you, Noah said softly. It is part of the agreement, she said, her voice returning to its businesslike tone. Dinner is at 7. Please don't be late. Life in the penthouse fell into a strange rhythm. Isabella was a ghost in her own home. She left before they woke up and returned after Lily was asleep. She ate standing up, usually reading a tablet. Noah, unable to sit idle, took over the domestic sphere. He couldn't pay rent, so he paid in labor. He cleaned the already clean apartment. He fixed the leaky faucet in the guest bath that Isabella had ignored for months. And he cooked. For the first week, Isabella ignored the food he left covered on the stove. But on the 8th day, Noah found her in the kitchen at midnight, eating his lasagna cold, straight from the pan. She froze when he walked in to get a glass of water. It's good, she admitted, wiping her mouth with a napkin, instantly regaining her composure. My personal chef lacks flavor. It's a family recipe, Noah said, leaning against the counter. My mom used to make it. Comfort food. I don't have time for comfort, Isabella said, discarding the fork. The board meeting is in 2 days. Julian has found a discrepancy in the Asia accounts. He's trying to pin it on my leadership style. He says I'm distracted. Are you? No. I'm exhausted. Noah looked at her, really looked at her. Beneath the expensive makeup, she looked like he felt trapped, carrying the weight of the world. Sit, Noah commanded. Excuse me. Sit down, Isabella. She was too tired to argue. She sat on a bar stool. Noah moved efficiently, brewing a pot of chamomile tea. He placed a mug in front of her. Drink, then sleep. You can't fight sharks if you're bleeding in the water. Isabella stared at the steam rising from the mug. Why are you being nice to me? I bought you. You didn't buy me, Noah said firmly. We made a deal. And in my book, partners look out for each other. Even silent partners. Isabella took a sip. For a second, her shoulders dropped. Thank you, Noah. It was the first time she had said his name without it sounding like a transaction. The first crack in the arrangement happened 2 weeks later. Noah received a call from Lily's school. His heart hammered as he took the subway uptown. Isabella had offered a driver, but he refused to use it for personal errands. When he arrived at the principal's office, Lily was sitting on a chair, sobbing. Her knee was scraped, and her new dress was torn. Mr. Reed, the principal, a weary-looking man named Mr. Henderson, sighed. There was an altercation. Noah rushed to Lily, checking her injuries. What happened? That boy pushed me, Lily cried, pointing to a smug-looking kid sitting with his mother on the other side of the room. The mother was dripping in diamonds and scrolling on her phone, clearly unbothered. He said my dad is a loser who cleans toilets. Lily sobbed. I told him you aren't. The other mother looked up, sneering. Well, isn't he? My son isn't a liar. We know who you are. You're the help. Noah stood up, his fists clenching. I'm her father. And if your son touches her again, Mr. Reed, please, the principal warned. Violence isn't the answer. And given your financial standing with the school's tuition assistance program, we have to be careful about behavioral issues. So, because I'm poor, my daughter can be bullied? Noah asked, his voice shaking with rage. Oh, spare us the melodrama, the rich mother scoffed. You don't belong at this school. Take your charity case and go. The door to the office swung open. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Isabella Sterling stood in the doorway. She was wearing a trench coat over her power suit, and she looked like a darker, more beautiful version of Justice. Is there a problem? Isabella asked. Her voice wasn't loud, but it silenced the room instantly. Miss Sterling, the principal jumped up. We didn't expect. Mr. Reed is just. Isabella walked past him and stood next to Noah. She placed a hand on his shoulder, a possessive, solid weight. Mr. Reed is my husband, Isabella announced. The rich mother dropped her phone. The principal turned pale. And Lily, Isabella continued, looking at the little girl, is my stepdaughter. And I am very curious why my daughter is bleeding while this woman is insulting my husband. We didn't know, the rich mother stammered. Isabella, darling, I'm on the PTA board. Not anymore, Isabella cut her off. I donate $2 million a year to this institution. If bullying is tolerated here because of a parent's bank account, I will pull my funding within the hour. And you, she looked at the woman, I believe your husband works for one of my subsidiaries. I'll be having a chat with HR about his conduct reviews. She turned to Noah. Ready to go, darling? Noah was stunned. He nodded, picking up Lily. As they walked to the car, Lily buried her face in Isabella's coat. Thank you, Miss Isabella. Isabella stiffened, then awkwardly patted Lily's back. No one hurts family, Lily. No one. In the car, Noah looked at her. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Isabella stared out the window, her jaw set. I know what it's like to be the poor kid in a rich school. To be invisible. Noah watched her. You're a Sterling. I wasn't always, she whispered, almost to herself. I was adopted when I was 10. Before that, I was just a girl in the system. The annual Sterling Foundation Gala was the battlefield where Isabella's fate would be decided. Noah was dressed in a tuxedo that cost more than his father had made in a lifetime. He felt like an imposter, but he looked like a movie star. The suit emphasized his broad shoulders and the rugged handsomeness that hard labor had carved into his face. Isabella wore a dress of midnight blue velvet. When she walked down the stairs, Noah forgot to breathe. You look. He started. Like a target, she finished, adjusting her gloves. Julian will be there. He's going to try to humiliate you to get to me. Don't let him. I've dealt with drunks, thieves, and angry chefs. Noah offered his arm. I can handle a guy in a bow tie. The ballroom was a sea of sharks. Cameras flashed as they entered. Noah played the part perfectly. He held her hand, guided her through the crowd, and smiled at the vacuous jokes of investors. Then Julian Vance approached. Julian was slick, handsome in a predatory way, and smelled of expensive scotch. Well, Julian smirked, raising his glass. The mystery husband. The Cinderella man, tell me, Noah, what was it you did before Isabella rescued you? Waste management. A circle of elites laughed. Isabella tensed, ready to strike, but Noah squeezed her hand to stop her. Noah smiled, easy and relaxed. Actually, Julian, I worked in hospitality and construction. It taught me a lot about building things that last. Unlike, say, creative accounting. The laughter died. Julian's eyes narrowed. Excuse me. I was reading the annual reports Isabella brings home. Noah lied smoothly. Fascinating stuff. especially how the overhead costs in the overseas shipping division have tripled while output remained flat. It's almost like the money is vanishing into thin air. You oversee that division, right, Julian? Julian went pale. That's complex logistics. You wouldn't understand. Maybe not. Noah shrugged, taking a sip of champagne. But I know that when you build a foundation on sand, the house collapses. I'd hate to see that happen to this company. He turned to Isabella. Darling, shall we dance? He led her to the floor, leaving Julian fuming and the crowd whispering. Not about the waiter, but about the man who just stood up to the CFO. On the dance floor, Isabella stared at him in shock. How did you know about the shipping costs? I didn't. Noah grinned. I just remembered you complaining about it over tea the other night. I took a gamble. Isabella threw her head back and laughed. It was a genuine musical sound that made heads turn. You are dangerous, Noah Reed. I told you. He pulled her closer, his hand warm on her waist. Partners look out for each other. For a moment, the music swelled, and the world faded. They weren't a CEO and a waiter. They were just two people holding on to each other in the middle of a storm. Noah felt a pull, a magnetic gravity toward this woman who hid her heart behind walls of ice. A month later, the walls were crumbling. They spent evenings watching movies with Lily. Isabella started coming home early. The penthouse began to feel like a home. One rainy Saturday, Noah was cleaning out some boxes in the attic to make room for Lily's growing toy collection. He knocked over an old, dusty trunk labeled Isabella Childhood. The latch broke and contents spilled out. It wasn't much. A few ragged clothes, a worn-out diary, and a small silver object. Noah picked it up. It was a compass. Cheap metal, tarnished, the glass cracked. His heart stopped. He turned the compass over. Scratched into the back with a clumsy hand were the letters in Beat North Bell. The room spun. Flashback 22 years ago. The orphanage yard in the Bronx. A scrawny 10-year-old Noah protecting a terrified 7-year-old girl from bullies. Don't cry, Belle, the boy had said. I won't let them hurt you. I'm scared, Noah. I don't know where I'm going. The boy had given her his most prized possession, a broken compass he found in a junk pile. Here, it's magic. No matter where you go, it'll point you back to me. Back to safe. 2 days later, she was adopted by the Sterlings. He never saw her again. Noah stood in the attic, gripping the compass, tears stinging his eyes. Isabella. Bella. The girl with the sad gray eyes. He hadn't recognized her. She was so polished, so cold, so different from the frightened little girl in the oversized coat. And he was just a memory she had left behind. Noah. He turned. Isabella stood in the doorway. She saw the compass in his hand. Her face went white. Where did you find that? She whispered. N&B. Noah's voice cracked. North and Bell. Isabella took a shaky step forward. Noah, you kept it, he said, holding it out. All these years. I never forgot, she said, tears spilling over. I looked for you. When I turned 18, I hired investigators. They couldn't find Noah Reed because you had changed your name when you went into foster care. I went back to Reed after I aged out. Noah said, it was my mom's name. You were the only one. Isabella walked to him, touching his face with trembling hands. The only person who ever loved me for nothing. Who protected me when I was nobody. I promised. Noah covered her hand with his. I promised I'd always find you. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing. The CEO, the Ice Queen, melted away. She was just Belle, and she was finally safe. The happiness was fragile. Julian Vance was not idle. 3 days before the final board vote that would secure Isabella's position and their future, the scandal broke. Noah woke up to his phone blowing up. He opened the news. Scandal. CEO's husband exposed as violent criminal? The article, planted by Julian, was a masterpiece of lies. It claimed Noah was an alcoholic, that he had assaulted customers at previous jobs, and worst of all, that he was manipulating Isabella for her fortune. It included a doctored video of the diner fight, making Noah look like the aggressor. Isabella was already in the living room, on the phone, pacing. It's a lie, she shouted into the receiver. I don't care what the optics are. She slammed the phone down when she saw Noah. They want you gone, she said, her voice hollow. The board is calling an emergency vote. They say if I don't annul the marriage and fire you from my life immediately, they will remove me as CEO for gross negligence. Then let them, Noah said. We have the truth. We have each other. You don't understand. Isabella cried. This company is my only way to protect you. If I lose it, Julian wins. He'll destroy everything. He'll make sure you never work again. He'll come after Lily. Noah looked at her. She was terrified. Not for herself, but for him. He knew what he had to do. The hardest thing a parent or a lover ever has to do. Sacrifice. Okay, Noah said calmly. Okay, I'll go. I'll sign the annulment. I'll leave. No. Isabella grabbed his lapels. We just found each other, and I'm not going to let you lose your life's work because of me. Noah kissed her forehead. A long, lingering kiss. When the war bell. Then come find me. He packed a bag. He woke up Lily, telling her they were going on a secret adventure. Isabella stood by the elevator, weeping silently as the doors closed. Noah and Lily moved into a cheap motel in New Jersey. It was a stark drop from the penthouse. Noah couldn't find work. The news story had made him radioactive. He spent his days making calls and his nights staring at the ceiling, clutching the silver compass he had taken with him. Then the nightmare struck. Lily woke up wheezing. Her asthma, dormant for years, flared up in the dusty motel room. Daddy, I can't breathe. Noah scrambled for the inhaler. Empty. He rushed her to the nearest ER. The triage nurse took one look at her blue lips and yelled for a doctor. Noah sat in the waiting room, his head in his hands. He had no insurance, no money, and his daughter was fighting for air. Mr. Reed, a billing administrator, approached him with a clipboard. We need a payment method on file to continue the advanced treatment. I don't have it right now, Noah pleaded. Please, just save her. I'll work it off. I'll do anything. I'm sorry, sir, but for the ICU admission. Suddenly, the hospital doors swooshed open. Heels clicked rapidly on the linoleum. A phalanx of lawyers and bodyguards parted the sea of patients. In the center was Isabella Sterling. She looked like vengeance incarnate. She marched straight to the billing desk. I'm Isabella Sterling. She slammed a black titanium card on the counter. This hospital is now under my personal endowment. If that little girl doesn't get the best care in the state within 30 seconds, I will buy this building and fire every single one of you. The administrator gaped. Ms. Sterling, right away. Isabella turned to Noah. She didn't say a word. She just wrapped her arms around him and held him while he shook. I told you, she whispered fiercely into his ear. No one hurts family. 2 days later, Lily was stable, resting in a private VIP suite with best-in-class doctors. Isabella stood before the board of directors at Sterling Dynamics. Noah stood at her right hand. Julian Vance sat at the head of the table, smiling smugly. Isabella, I see you brought your baggage. Is the annulment signed? No, Isabella said, placing a stack of files on the table. But your resignation is. Excuse me. Noah stepped forward. While I was unemployed, Noah said, his voice steady, I did some digging. Real digging. Not the fake stories you plant in tabloids. He opened a folder. I went back to the diner. I found the waitress you harassed, the one whose silence you bought. She was ready to talk once she realized who you were. I also found the shell companies you used to siphon off the shipping budget. It wasn't overhead. It was embezzlement. Isabella projected a slide onto the screen. It showed bank transfers from Sterling Dynamics directly into Julian's offshore accounts. This is grand larceny and corporate fraud, Isabella said coldly. The FBI is in the lobby, Julian. You can walk out in handcuffs, or you can walk out. Well, actually, the handcuffs are non-negotiable. The board members gasped. Julian turned purple. You can't prove this. You're trusting a waiter. I'm trusting my husband, Isabella declared, her voice ringing with pride. A man who has more honor in his little finger than you have in your entire bloodline. A man who saved me when I was 7, and who saved this company today. Security entered. Julian was dragged out, screaming threats that no one listened to. The board chairman, an elderly man, stood up. He looked at Noah, then at Isabella. It seems, the chairman smiled, that we have underestimated Mr. Reed. All in favor of retaining Ms. Sterling as CEO. Every hand went up. A month later, the penthouse was different now. There were photos on the walls. Noah, Isabella, and Lily at the zoo, at the park, baking cookies. There were toys in the living room. It was messy. It was warm. Noah stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. Isabella stepped out beside him. She was wearing a simple robe, her hair loose. She looked younger, softer. "Lily is asleep," she asked. "Out like a light." Noah smiled. "She asked if she could call you Mom soon." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. "What did you say?" "I said she'd have to ask you." Isabella leaned her head on his shoulder. "I like that. I like that very much." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the silver compass. She had had the glass repaired. "It still points north," she said. "It points to home," Noah corrected. Isabella turned to him. "Tear up the contract, Noah. I did that weeks ago." "Good," she smiled, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Because I don't want a business partner. I want the boy who promised to protect me. I want the man who cooks lasagna at midnight. I want you." Noah kissed her. It wasn't a show for the cameras. It wasn't for a deal. It was the seal on a promise made 20 years ago in a playground, finally kept. "I love you, Bella," he whispered. "I love you, Noah." Below them, the city kept moving, oblivious to the miracle on the 50th floor. The waiter and the cell. The orphan and the princess. A family forged in fire, bound by a broken compass, and finally truly home.